Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Big MX Radio Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Racetech Suspension and Engines. Have you been noticing that your suspension's bottoming out more than it normally does? Are you not getting that plushness that you got when the bike was brand new? Or maybe those original settings are just not for you. Racetech Gold Valves, absolutely the best in the business, and they've got service centers polka dotted all over the map. You can go to their website and figure out which one is closest to you, get yourself dialed in, and you can save yourself some money when you enter discount code BIGMX at checkout with Racetech, or you can just mention Big MX Radio when you happen to call them and get maybe you're having some you can do your own work yourself and getting some gold valves shipped out to you, or maybe you're having them shipped to you so that you can get them to one of your local service centers. I'm your host, Brad Gebhardt, and on this episode, we're going to cover 250 outdoors, 450 outdoors, who needs a big summer, as well as just the magic of the great outdoors. We're going to do a little bit of GNCC at a glance, as well as, a brand new segment called What's Charging and What's Fading. Like I said, I'm your host, Brad Gebhardt. With me on the line, a very special guest making his Big MX Radio debut, Kyle Wolfe. How's it going?
What's going on, Brad? Happy to be here, man.
Hey, thank you for making some time for it, and thanks for dressing up for the occasion. You got the FXR t-shirt, and that's an exclusive hat. That's a Team USA hat. That's pretty dope, dude. I like it.
Yep. Always like repping for USA and like repping for ISDE. And I think this is the one from last year in Spain after I ran into you in England for the donations.
That's right. Yeah, you spent some serious amount of time in some other time zones there, man. And that hat definitely didn't see the light of day when you were at that event because we got a few drops of rain at More Across the Nations, but from what I remember, your time at ISDE was soggy, wet, and doesn't look like that hat faced any of those conditions.
No, I was definitely not putting this thing through those rainy conditions. And I think in order to bring the hat out in the light of day, I think there actually has to be light of day, and there really wasn't. I was gone for almost 3 weeks from that trip, and you were there for 4 days of it, and we barely saw sunshine at donations
No.
last year.
It was so and like that race was so England, it's not even fucking funny, dude. Like
Right, right.
we had drizzle, we had like just the deepest ruts you've ever seen. It was an absolute like it was everything Matterley Basin's supposed to be. Like great racing, and it comes down to the final corner. Jett Lawrence and Tim Geiser. That was amazing. I can't wait to go back to Europe. Before we get into the podcast, we need to remind everyone that they can save 10% at Luxon MX. You need some brand new set of triple clamps, you need some chassis components, maybe you need some new engine mounts, or maybe you're just gonna new like you have your bar mounts are as twisted as mine are on my KX 250F from 2008. They're complete. They're every time I put that bike down, completely crisscrossed. You can remedy that situation by going out and getting yourself some Luxon MX bar mounts, 10% off with Big MX 2025 at checkout. Go check those guys out. Billy over there. Have you met Billy from Luxon?
I haven't met Billy. I've heard about him. I haven't met him yet.
Straight shooter. He's one of those guys that like the reason why he's like his products are so good is because he cuts through all the bullshit and just gives you what you need. Every single I love him having him on the podcast. He's extremely intelligent, not the most energetic guy in the entire world, but like I said, it's there's no BS with him. He's not here to sell anyone. He's like, here's some solutions to what your problem is. Glad we were able to help.
Tell me exactly how you feel. It may be good or it may be bad, but I at least respect it's honest.
Exactly. No, like he just does has no time to fuck around with that sort of thing. So we appreciate Billy and Luxon. We can save you 10% on a set of triple clamps. Triple clamps are not cheap. Last time I checked.
No.
And yeah, 10% off instead of triple clamps. That's going to put $100 in your jeans. But segment one, let's get straight into the 450 class. We'll put the big boys up front because that's where they belong. They usually go second in the motos. I personally do not like when they go first for TV sake and stuff like that. But in this podcast, they're going to go first. And let's just address the elephant in the room. We got the return of the number 18, Jett Lawrence comes back along with his brother. I think he's going to be a full set of steam. As far as you know, how much time does he have on the motorcycle?
Based on everything that I'm hearing, I think it's maybe a month at best that he's been on the bike, probably less. Yeah.
I'm thinking 3 weeks. I think he's been on the bike for 3 weeks.
Yeah. There's so much information thrown at us anymore, official and unofficial from behind the scenes sources. It's hard to keep it all straight and remember the timeline. But yeah, 3 to 4 weeks, 4 weeks at best. But certainly he's been lifting and doing whatever else, even when he couldn't really walk after that ACL. But it's going to be interesting to see what his where he is coming into Pala this weekend because he missed a lot of time, more than he ever has.
Yeah, and this is now two championships in a row that he hasn't been able to finish. I obviously not counting the SMX playoffs where he was once again victorious.
Do you really consider that a championship?
No, I don't actually, and it's a very gimmicky thing the sport is now doing. Maybe that'll be a question later on in the podcast. Do we think that championship will exist in 2035? My answer is no. But actually, that's one of the questions I have later on as far as prestigious championships. But when it comes to Jett Lawrence, here's what we know: we know that he's talented, we know that he's fit, and we know that young people can bounce back from an ACL injury like no tomorrow. It has a great track record. He went to an amazing specialist for his knee. We know this, and barring any complications with the recovery of that injury, the only thing that I could see him suffering from at the very early stages of the year is a little bit of just sort of riding fatigue of not having enough 30-minute motos under his belt to the point where he's able to ride at his full potential or at his full pace for the entire 30. That is like basically the only question mark that I have for Jett Lawrence. Otherwise, I think he's gonna be fast.
He's going to be fast. Yeah, to your point, the stamina is the thing that I'm questioning. Just to agree with your point, he hasn't had the race pace training. You know, even doing motos with Hunter and with Seth and everybody else down at Dog Pound. Just anybody that knows anything knows that doesn't. You can do all the simulations you want to, but it just doesn't match up to the actual race day when you have everybody else there. Everything is actually on the line. So, but if his stamina is not there, I would give him high point. If he doesn't win the first 2 rounds or the first 3 rounds, I guess it is, before we go to high point, if I'm remembering that right, I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, it goes Paula, Hangtown,
Hangtown.
Thunder Valley.
So if he doesn't win the
Do we
first
get a week
three,
off
I don't know with
for
the
High
calendar the
Point?
way it
We've
is right
done
now.
that in
I
the past, but I don't know we always do that.
think the way the calendar is right now, I think it's just boom, boom, boom all the way through. But either way, if he doesn't win if he doesn't win after the first two or the first three, whatever it is, until we get to high point, then um, I'd see high point is where it really turns around for him. His fitness, if it's not up to par entering round one, then it's not going to be up to par when they go to Colorado in a couple of weeks' time.
We don't get a weekend off until the weekend between High Point and Southwick. There are 14 days between then. That would be June 14th is High Point, June 24th or 28th rather is Southwick. So first 4 rounds before these guys are going to get an opportunity to breathe. And that goes for another rider that's coming off of injury. And honestly, I'm going to say that coming back from a knee injury is I want to say I don't want to minimize the recovery, but I'd say that it's harder to come back from a shoulder than it is to come back from a knee, and that's what Hunter Lawrence is dealing with.
See, I would say the opposite, just because he's able to do more to keep up the fitness. He still has his legs, so even if it's just on a stationary bike
You're not
or
wrong about that.
even depending on how long his recovery was with the shoulder, he was probably quicker to get back on like a rower or something like that with low resistance. to strengthen his shoulder up, but still using his legs to, kind of feed the fire a little bit more so than what Jett was able to do or not able to do with the lack of being able to use his legs, being on the road bike or anything of that nature.
Plus, Jet had to take some time away so he can go to the Met Gala, which was very important. And like he was there along with Angel Reese and a few NFL players that were also in attendance. That was pivotal and huge for what the sport is and what it will one day be.
I'm wondering how big that actually was because I mean we've seen that he was there. The rest of the fan base and the industry has seen that he was there. I haven't seen anything outside of the industry talking about him being there.
No, of course not. That
Was wondering,
he went to the Met Gala so that in the industry that hold like jobs of stature or jobs of note can post that on LinkedIn and justify their job and like be like, see, we're doing it. I'm dead serious. That's what it is. Like, I don't want to be negative here, but like that's literally like that's so that like the agents and the whoever else and like this goes across every like if an NHL player got sent there, like his agent would have posted about it too. It's just like it's an industry pat ourselves in the back. Look at us doing stuff that the big sports do. It's like a take your kid to work day sort of thing. I don't know. Like I don't know. It's like it lost me. Sticking on the red bikes, and I'm not talking about gas, because in this class there's not really much to talk about when it comes to gas. But Ferrandis, he's going to be out for. I would assume we don't see him till Southwick. Looking at that schedule, we either see him at High Point, and if he's not ready by High Point, you see him at Southwick.
if he can be ready by High Point, I would say he rides High Point just because of how European that track is, and he's
Yeah,
done well there in the past. He did well there in the 250 class. He did well there in
he won it in 2020.
450s. Yeah, when he was on Star Yamaha the
He
year that he won
won.
the title.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gels well with that racetrack. So I think if he feels like he can be ready and be, a top 5 to 7 guy in that class on that Phoenix Honda, I think he races High Point.
Are there any two outdoor seasons in motocross history that are more forgettable than the 2020 and the 2021 outdoor season?
Nah, not really. You'd have to go back to, I don't know, mid 70s maybe.
You know what I mean? Like as far as like both those titles, it was both like they were just sort of like head scratchers, like, oh, why is Eli Tomac not winning at all? And like this, like, not I don't want to take anything away from Zacho. Went out, won that championship. It was a 9 round series, and then I think that was officially our last 12 round series with when they ended up going to Fox Raceway twice with Ferrandis, and yeah, he just wins that title. Like Tomac just couldn't put it together that year, not at least not consistently. And then he also had in a mechanical at Redbud, I think. But either way, like it was just
Like that. And he
that's
had it,
why it's
and he had
forgettable. I'm
mechanical
not
go
remembering
through.
that title at all because like I obviously I know Ferrandis won it, but nothing sticks out about me aside from like I think it was High Point where Ferrandis was like jumping that triple up the hill. It looked badass every time. So,
Yeah, other than, in 20, I mean, Tomac had the mechanical Loretta's, I think
oh my
both most.
God, dude, I watched the race from Loretta's the other day. Fuck, does that track look small?
Yeah.
On 450s, you're like, oh my God, that track's small. They hosted a national in my backyard. Like,
How awesome would it be though if they redid Loretta's on that track for the amateur race?
I think that'd be cool.
For what they had to
It looks
do,
so
and
much wider.
yeah, it really did. And for what they had to work with, and especially what they had to do in a week's time between Loretta's and then when they ran that national, that
That's right.
was that was a lot of undertaking on that, but that track looked cool. Like I wish they
Yeah.
would do that track for Loretta's.
Yeah, they opened it up like crazy after the start, and then that straightaway after, like that corner after, like after the start at Loretta's, and they have that long straight straightaway, and then you have the left-hander. Like
Yeah.
that was legitimately like 30 or 40% wider as you head back towards the Ten Commandments. Like
Right.
there was no space. Like you know where like they have the banner and like there's a flagger that hangs out next to the commandments. There's just no space there. There was nothing. And
No.
the commandments are wider as well, but like that whole area is just completely different. Or was at that time. We're off topic, but that's how we like it here. Star Racing Yamaha. Tomac, he's coming back. Uh, for what I would assume to be his last series as a member of Star Racing Yamaha. Um, a lot of people obviously in the know. Some people think that it's already signed, but like all signs show to him going to Red Bull KTM at the end of this year. It's kind of an easy landing spot for him with Sexton going to Cowie. But what do you expect from the number three? He's in the twilight of his career. He wants to make a statement. He's coming back from a broken leg. I would assume that he's been on the bike longer than Jett Lawrence. Probably in the neighborhood of probably 5, 6 weeks down in Cortez. What are your thoughts?
I think I think he, started even though it was, I guess it was only a week removed from when Jett got hurt, but he started ahead of where Jett was on the recovery just because of the fact that it was, the bone or both bones, whichever it was in his leg, and it wasn't, thank God he didn't catch the muscle or a ligament or
Yeah.
anything when he caught that foot peg because that was bad. I mean, I was in Tampa when that and I
The fact that
watched it
he
when it
rode on a
happened.
broken leg is insane.
That is gnarly. That dude is just that guy. He and Doug Henry, if there was a moto dictionary, are the literal definitions for just badass or
Yeah.
tough as nails, whatever term you want to use. Both of those guys, because yeah, that out of Tomac, especially on that track in the main event for 20 minutes, that was gnarly.
Yeah, like that to me is it's more impressive than uh Ryan Hughes Southwick 2003 when he breaks his leg in the first moto and then comes out for the second moto and like doesn't get points with a broken leg. Like Tomac going out there and like still like he went in through the heat race on a broken leg.
Right.
Like it's still Eli Tomac, but like I don't know. That to me is that's a next level gnarly. I honestly I'll just give you my expect like what I expect from him. I expect a full effort because every time he hits the track for the remainder of his career, I wouldn't say like the clock is ticking down. He only has so many more opportunities to go out there and give his best, and I don't think Eli Tomac has like a he I don't think I've ever seen him just go out there and like ride around ever.
Oh,
So I expect full effort.
he'll give a full effort, like you said. I mean, and I was thinking this right before you said it. Like he's never just mailed it in. Not one
No,
time will we ever see him mailed in unless he's already won a title, with rounds remaining, whether it's Supercross
sure.
or outdoors. But Eli is never one to cut you on effort. And he's not one to cut you on heart. And, he's lost a year and a half basically.
Hmm.
And he's still Eli Tomac. He showed it this year before he had that injury at Tampa. I mean, he won a race straight up and he was there battling for wins if he didn't win.
Yeah.
And this is outdoors. This is
He
Eli's house right here.
he doesn't break his leg. He's the 2025 Supercross champ, you think?
I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no. And I know that's, playing both sides of the fence, obviously, but God, so much happened during that Supercross season. It's hard to say definitively one way or the
It
other.
was
What,
pretty early.
yeah,
I would have said
early. I
that it
mean,
would at least
we
made it a
lost four
three
guys in
rider
2 weeks.
battle. Would have made it a
Say that
three rider
again.
battle at the end there.
Oh, it absolutely would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Cooper Webb. I don't expect him to race all of them. I could see him like and like there's not really like a oh I'm gonna like race my favorite races because that doesn't make sense either. Like there's the bike has to be on the truck and like as far as the schedule goes, like I could see him. There's certain ones I could see him not doing like Washougal or Unadilla just because it's Unadilla. Um, I could also see him getting those rounds out of the way early. Like I could see him doing the first four and then doing like Redbud and Millville and being like deuces, see you at the opening round of uh
That's Max. Yeah. Yeah.
SMX, yeah.
Well, I mean, we all
Which
saw his.
sucks. Like I hate that there's like we lived through the Chad Reed doing Supercross only, James Stewart doing Supercross only earlier than that. Carmike,
Cross.
yeah, Jeremy McGrath doing Supercross
He's
only.
the first one to do it, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we all saw the comments that Cooper made in the press conference after Salt Lake. He doesn't give a rat's ass about, outdoors, and he hasn't really ever since the 250 days. And I don't think he's
yeah.
actually has he even made a full 450 season on
If
in
he has, it
outdoors.
was a quiet one.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
I don't think
I
he
don't,
has.
I don't think he did
I love that he
post
has
with
one
Yamaha.
win, and it's Millville 2019. He goes 1-1, and he goes mic drop. See you later.
Right. Like he didn't like that was on a KTM, so he didn't I don't think he finished the season his first stint with Star.
No, I'd have
He
to
got
look,
one
but no, I
win, but
don't
he
think
still
so.
didn't finish the season with KTM.
Yeah.
And now we're back, and he exited outdoors 2 years ago.
Hmm.
He exited outdoor. He didn't even start outdoors last year. He's going to start this year, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, I'd see him being a 4 to 5 guy in there. I don't know if I really put him in the top three conversation, but definitely in that 4 or 5 range, I would say.
Yeah, I could see like on speed, I could see him getting like a good start and like being a thorn in the side of some guys who are actually battling for this championship. But at the same time, like he's gonna make sure that he puts himself in a position to have good points and not at a serious deficit going into the SMX finals and the playoffs thing that they have. And yeah, put himself in a good position to make some money. That's his number one priority throughout the select rounds that he races outdoors.
The one thing I'm curious to see though is, I mean, he had it figured out for Supercross. I wonder if he's onto something to last 2 35-minute motos with dad bod. I wonder if he's got something figured out with that. We maybe we
You think he's
different
been having
web.
some long conversations with like Stu Baylor and being like, is being a thick snicker like really the secret sauce to lasting?
I don't know. I've seen dumber things happen in racing. Maybe he's
100%.
maybe he's figured it out.
Maybe. I like honestly like the funny thing is like I think Webb gets a bad rap for having like sort of the dad bod because he doesn't have like a granite chin. Like, he's not just sculpted like a guy like Chase. He's also like 4 or 5 inches shorter, and he just has a round face. Like he just has the like this facial structure that it isn't necessarily like it like even if he was in like peak condition, he's never looked like shredded.
No, and like I mean he's similar in height wise anyway to Ricky, but Ricky leaned out like crazy when he was racing. But I
Yeah.
think that also kind of hurt him in the fact that he was so light on that 450.
Hmm.
Things went wrong, they went wrong. Coop,
Yeah.
you don't really see things go wrong, and they certainly don't go nearly as wrong as when Ricky was on a 450, and like I said, they're similar height, but
Yeah, they're both little guys.
you don't see Webb when things go wrong, you don't see them go, catastrophic.
No.
I think the extra, what would you say, 20 pounds there compared to Ricky in his day?
Oh, Ricky, yeah, Ricky was under 150 pounds as a
Right.
in like
Webb's probably
oh 06 or oh 05, oh 06, oh 07.
and Webb's probably running a buck 65, give
Oh
or
yeah,
take.
buck 65, buck 70. And like he's also like he's a little muscle nugget too. Like people don't think he's strong. He's strong.
Yeah,
Um
he's always been one of the more stocky guys, kind of like
yeah.
Wardy back in the day.
He's built like an English bulldog where he's got the shoulders, he's got, like the thick midsection. Honestly, like I don't bat an eye at him being like a tiny bit thicker than a guy like say like Blake Baggett, which is the extreme of that other side, where I think he raced a 450 at like 140 fucking pounds, which is insane.
But
Like
he I think he was like 3 inches taller than Coop, so that helped him.
little bit taller. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
if you got the leverage. Leverage is key. Speaking of leverage, after the season that Justin Cooper had in Supercross, he's got some serious leverage over whoever wants to sign him to a big deal for next year. I assume he stays at Star Racing Yamaha. He just seems like he's really happy there. Like ever since they pulled him away from the Rocky Mountain team back in, or not Rocky Mountain. What was the Yamaha team?
All that
Rock River.
Rock River. Yeah.
Lots of rock though.
And you know the story on that whole deal, right? At Loretta's that year,
Well, refresh me because that's like
17.
2018, 17. Yeah,
He didn't have that ride going into Loretta's.
that's right.
He got that ride because
At
of Loretta.
Loretta. Yeah.
There was another guy slotted for that seat.
Oh, was that Falk? Or
No,
no,
it was Tennant,
don't,
Callan Tennant.
Challen Tennant. And whatever happened to what's the other kids like there was a kid that was like hot amateur that just never even got a chance.
Dude, there's a
Started
laundry list of
I
those.
know, but there's like it was a Yamaha kid. His last name I think it started with an F.
Oh, are you thinking of Halpane?
No.
Yeah.
I need no, that's gonna bug me. I'm gonna look that up later. But um
But
yeah.
no,
Wasn't there a flock? Flock.
no, he's still in it. Oh no, he did Jesse go
I gotta
pro?
look at I gotta
Jesse
look this
Flock.
up. I think that's what I'm talking about. Jesse
Yeah,
Flock.
yeah,
He
yeah.
did he had never he didn't get like never got a fair shake as a pro. I don't know if like he's yeah, I don't even know. But anyway, and Christian Craig, is he racing outdoors? I think he's racing outdoors.
I think he is. I'm fairly certain he is because I think that was part of the deal. He was supposed to do the full year this year. Obviously, only did what the last half roughly of Supercross because of the injury, but I think he was supposed to do the full year, and I think this is it for him, but I could be wrong. But I'm not expecting a lot out of Craig. He's not 2018 or whatever year that was, Craig, or 20, whatever, his Honda year. He's not
Tanner
that
Stack.
Craig anymore. There you go.
Tanner
He
Stack.
Tanner got a ride. Remember that all the motorcycle superstore Suzuki
Was
team?
he on that motorcycle
He,
superstore Suzuki
he was
team
on
that
that
just
team.
ah
Yeah.
that sucks.
He was a Team Green kid coming up.
Yeah. Last year on Yamahas out of Oak Grove, Missouri. MO is Missouri, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, there's like you look at like the A class, like the A class, like this is off topic. 250 A class 2017, Justin Cooper, Jordan Bailey, Joey Crown, Rami Alves, Challen Tennant, Tanner Stack, Richard Jackson, never heard of you. Wilson Fleming, heard of you. Oh, like Kevin Moran's, what's going on? And running out your top 10 out the UK is Jury Mitchell. Went when for still got a top 10 overall. Go at 9, 10, 26.
There you go. That's about right,
That's
Loretta.
consistency at its finest.
So you just listed off the entire top 10. There's two guys that are
Still
still
racing.
out of that top 10.
Yo, yeah, don't even get like there's more guys outside the top 10 that are signing themselves up for supercross races here in 2025. Like Vincent Lahovey is definitely out there. TJ Albright definitely out there. Scott
Dude,
Meshey totally up there.
Lahovey got the biggest cheer of the night for winning the LCQ in Pittsburgh
Yeah.
because his house is like 20 minutes from that stadium.
Here's a deep cut. Guy did he must have gone there as an alternate and didn't get to go. Nick Thomasunis, Instagram
Oh,
fame, went DNF, DNS, DNS on a Yamaha 2019 A class. I love it. We were talking about 450 outdoors though at some point.
Justin
Um,
Cooper, I think, is riding on a wave of confidence.
I think
I
so.
think, I think
I think that's
I
going to
think,
turn into some like remember they used to do the Oakley bombs?
yeah,
If they still did that, he would be trying to check that thing through TSA every single weekend because I
yeah.
think Justin Cooper's going to get himself some Oakley bombs this year.
Well, you know the thing is like, and I think his performance this year, and definitely getting third because of what happened with Kenny, and then him being able to hold off Malcolm. His renewal with Star kicked in, but I think they were going to bring him back anyway because they like Justin. He's happy there. Gets along with Webb, and I think he's starting to pick up on some of that chip on your shoulder type of attitude that Webb's always had
Hmm.
because in the 250 days, if you remember, Jacob always fell just short, whether it was to the
Yes.
Lawrence brothers,
Tien
you know,
Cirillo,
against Rillo, he was always just short of winning that title. So
Savachi even.
he still wants to prove to people that
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm here and I can be the guy. And man, he's making that 450 work. And I think he's going to give everybody a run for their money this year that they're not really expecting. I mean, he's going to be good, and I think everybody knows that, but I think he's going to bring a different level for outdoors.
I think so too. I think like my this year, my like kind of come out of nowhere guy to lead a lot of laps, maybe even win an overall is Justin Cooper. Wouldn't be surprised to see him also like win an overall going like 2-2. Just because he's gonna be in the fight every time, he's gonna be fast. And you know he has the fitness. Red Bull KTM, uh Chase Sexton gonna run the number one. I absolutely love the vented plate with the little vented number four that Jay Dungy put on there. That's I love like the comeback tour of the vented plate has been like glorious as far as I'm considered. I don't love when they paint the numbers on, but I digress. Sexton, what do you think about him defending this title? Obviously, he's got that like having to. It's a tough pill to swallow to come what three points short of a second Supercross title, and then immediately switch your focus to racing outdoors. It's gotta be difficult, but I still expect him to win some races.
Yeah, I don't think he's as devastated about losing that Supercross title, you know, at the last race. He knew the likelihood of him pulling that off was slim to none, and he knows exactly where everything, the moments during the season that went wrong as to how he lost that title.
Hmm.
That was 100% on him. So I don't think it was that big of a pill to swallow, compared to had it been a last corner
Yeah, like
pass situation
6 weeks
and
before the
all
end of
wet.
that title, he's like, I gotta win out.
Right, exactly.
So
But
if I don't win out, I'm messed. So
he if he can bring the level that he brought last year, I mean, that Hangtown ride, second moto was ungodly. I mean, there's only two other guys that we've ever seen pull that kind of magic, and that's RC and James. And, if he can bring that, and he's definitely going to have the attitude, and I think you know, th not to, start listing off cliches, but he definitely learned more losing that title a couple of weeks ago than he would if he had won it. So I think his mentality is going to shift coming into outdoors, and if it's whether it's Jett, Hunter, um, Aaron, J. Coop, whoever, I think if it's there, he's going to go for it. If it's not, he's not going to push the issue. I think he's going to dial it back and be like, "Hey, I got another moto or I got another week. We'll regroup and figure it out." But I think he's the guy to beat, honestly, though. I think after winning that title last year and especially the
mhm.
way he did it, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to match that pace at the start of the year anyway.
I completely agree with you. I certainly think he's going to have the most amount of wind in his sails and motivation to win this title out the rip. And I think on speed, he's the fastest guy.
Yeah, he is the fastest guy, but I think ultimately same as Webb and same as Jacob, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He hasn't won a title yet with everybody there.
Yeah,
And now that everybody's going to be there, save for Ferrandis at the first few rounds, that, yeah, Ferrandis may not be a title contender, but he's a guy that has a title, same as Chase. So I think for that alone, everybody's there. So now Chase gets Chase gets another shot at it to say, "Hey, I'm the best guy with the best guys."
right. Yeah, you want to be able to buck that narrative, like can't win the big one when everyone's there. Championship guy. So yeah, certainly looking to shut some people up. Let's talk about some white K. No, before we get to the other KTM's, there's white KTM's, there's red KTM's. Staying with the orange KTM's, AP. We've had a number of years outdoors wise where we've got some flashes of brilliance, and then like two or three outdoors where like just like we're watching the lead and then smash cut to like AP having a big one and then like he has a couple of rounds where he scores no points because of a huge get off or a mechanical of some sort. Like I hate it for him. Are we gonna see it? Are we gonna see anything different this year? Because like I think there's a lot of people who want to see a lot of good things for AP. I don't know that we see it.
I'd say now that did you listen to his podcast with Junior?
I did, yeah. Check that out. First episode
What
I've caught of that podcast though. Also, by
just
the way.
where he talked about, at the beginning of the season where he was just scared. He
Hmm.
couldn't figure out what was going on. Now that he's finally figured that out and he's happy because you could even tell during those first three, four, 5 rounds, even when he was able to put a finish together, he just wasn't happy. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't doing
Yeah,
anything. Then when everything finally clicked going into Daytona, that's when the wheels started turning and the train started getting back on the tracks. And you
body
could,
language completely different.
yeah, his mentality changed, his confidence changed, and we all know this sport's entirely about confidence, or at least 95% of it. But I think he's going to be fighting for podiums. I don't know about a moto win, and I hate saying that about him just because
You don't
I'm
think we're
friends
gonna
with
get a mutter?
what's that?
We don't think we're gonna get a mud race at all? I mean,
Save for a mud race. But
okay.
I mean, I've watched him grow up. I've hung out with him. I've been around him. So nearly his whole life. But when you stack him, you know, one on one to Chase or Eli, if Eli goes beast mode, then I don't see it just because those guys have shown it time and time again that they're on a different level. Aaron hasn't, to me, ever really shown that level, even on the 250 days when he won that title. He
Yeah, like
was
he didn't get good starts that year. He just was faster than a lot of the guys and would just like
right,
blow by everybody.
right. And it was just, and maybe part of this is just the fact that Aaron's never been flashy about his riding, but he's always there. So as long as he gets the starts, which everything shows that he can get the starts, he did it for the last half of Supercross. I think he's definitely a top three contender at the end of the championship, probably behind Chase and Eli. Um, at worst, he's a fifth place guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
like 2018, his outdoor championship, he ends up with 500 points, which I believe is only 100 points shy of a perfect season, which is insane. They
Basically,
must
you win the title and you don't show up for 4 motos
Four
if you
moto.
win.
Yeah, he wrapped it up two races early. Although that like he must have wrapped it up a race early. But the guys he raced up
I think he wrapped it
against,
up a race early.
yeah, I think he raced the weekend before Ironman. It must have been Budds Creek. Uh, Alex Martin, Justin Cooper in his that time would have been technically still his rookie year. RJ Hampshire and Shane McElrath were his like closest competitors that year.
Right.
Respectfully, not Goliaths. Like there's no AC in that. I think Joey Savacci got hurt mid-season.
AC was hurt.
Sexton or not yeah, Sexton's a rookie. Zach Osborne got hurt Colorado that year.
Right. Yeah.
So
AC was hurt. Sexton was out.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it just and Faulkner was like doing like unfortunately Faulkner things, and we're gonna talk about that in the 250 segment if we ever get to it. But yeah, like that being said, like I need to see it before I believe it from a guy like AP. Like I said, I still want awesome things for him. I think um he's a fan favorite and people love to watch him. 450 outdoors. Uh there's just so many good guys, and to see him like up there consistently or getting a bad start and racing through those guys, I don't see that happening.
I mean, certainly at least at Red Bud, he ought to be on the podium this year.
Of
That's
course.
that's his race and his people. Certainly,
Yeah.
he's on the podium at Red
If
Bud.
regardless of where he finishes at Redbud, there should be a podium. Like say if he's fifth, there's just like an extra spot in like the winner's circle for AP to do shoeies and beer bongs off of local fans that would like to be around him. That's good.
Absolutely. That's,
I
that's
like
just
that.
that's just a good PR move.
Yep. No, if we're trying to elevate the sport, we give the people what they want. Going to
Exactly.
white KTM's, and I'll just say it, maybe like the hottest look of 2025, and I don't even know, like this is blowing my mind to say this. FXR and Malcolm Stewart. Like are also somewhere there's like you can quietly hear like taps being played in the background for seven because I think that's like the official like that company is probably going to like dissolve into nothingness now. Like
I don't know. I still see stuff on that motorcycle industry jobs of positions with them. I think they're more outside,
interesting.
independent sales reps, but and also maybe like a graphic designer here and there. But I mean, I think they're still gonna go,
Yeah, but like answer
still gonna
still
put out
exists too.
right. So
Like
does MSR.
they
Yeah,
also did they Turn 14 made a post today with like images from like 2000 like last summer. And I was like of answer gear. I'm like awesome. It still has like Vincent Way on a Super Mini on a Husky. I'm like, who greenlit this?
right.
Like, who's the digital marketing specialist? Was like, yeah, let's go with the photos from like 18 months ago. Sick. Um, but like, yeah, the gear looks sick. I think the lead bike out of that tent is probably going to be RJ Hampshire as far as like between the two white KTM's. But Malcolm can make some noise. He's gonna look good.
It makes a noise. It's been forever since he's done an outdoor. Well, no, it's
Yeah, he
not
raced
had
them all last
been.
year.
Yeah, it hadn't been forever since he's done an outdoor. It's been forever since he's done a full season.
Yeah, like I think if he raced them all last year,
Did he
that's
race
he's
them
kind
all
of
last
flying.
year? I
He
can't.
might
I
have
can't.
flown under the radar and did them all. I think he was supposed to, or maybe he did, or maybe he didn't. But either way,
Or maybe he started
he's
late or
never been
something.
a he's never been a factor. Okay,
No, he's never been a factor. I mean, I'd
on
say at best
anything.
Malcolm would be like a
Like I
seventh
love
or
the
an
guy,
eighth
but
guy
yeah.
on a good day. But
What do
yeah,
you?
RJ,
Let's
I wonder about his wrist. But the one time that we actually got to see RJ on a 450 Daytona a few years ago,
look good.
and he won the heat race.
Yeah,
So I'm interested to see, and like I know he's been wanting to do that 450 forever. Like when I was down at Baker's factory a couple of months ago, I talked to him a little bit about it. He even said he's like, man, I'm excited about it to get on the 450. And yeah, I mean, obviously he still had eyes set on the 250 East title, but you knew he
yeah,
was ready to go on that 450. And I think if he hadn't have been in that points race, I think he'd already been testing on it earlier than what he did. But I still think he's gonna come in. Um, he's the unknown as far as where he lines up, just because we haven't seen it yet.
yeah. No, he's a total wild card. It could go awesome. It could also be short lived with that wrist issue. Like I said, the first four rounds are boom, 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 boom. You got some tracks in there that are very demanding, especially on like yeah, you don't want to be racing outdoors with a bad wrist. Also, Seven is a presenting sponsor for the Hangtown Nationals. So hey, what do I know? Like they're
That's
look who's
great. That's
back.
great timing for them, isn't it? 2 weeks before
100%.
you're the presenting sponsor of the national, and your only rider is
Yeah, your
gone.
only notable professional racer is running a Canadian brand. Unbelievable. Um, but that's okay. But yeah, I think if he gets out of the first four rounds without having any issues with that thing, I could see him being a threat. And also, I could see him getting good starts. Here's the thing about moving to the 450 class, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be so much better on a 450." Here's why: a guy like RJ, he's not tall, but he's not very short. He's got good leverage on a motorcycle, but I always felt like I feel in order to go as fast as he can on a 250F, he has to wring its neck.
Yeah,
And that's not the case. And that was the same case for um what's his name? Martin Davalos when he was on 250s, always had to manhandle that. Always had to throw it around. And then you get them out on a 450. They have to respect the damn thing because it will bite you if you don't. And the calmness that's required to go fast on a 450 is something I feel like is really going to play into the strengths or what's needed for RJ to be the best version of himself as a pro.
for sure. I think, I mean, RJ, yeah, to your point, he always rang the neck out of a 250, but he was never riding over the edge. He always just rode that bike harder than what I think the bike was actually capable of, speaking 250 wise. I think
Especially on the
he,
Hondas.
yeah, yeah, I think he
The Hondas
wanted
use
more
them.
out of that bike than what the bike could actually give him. And I think now that he's got a 450 and he can ride a little more free on that bike, I think it's gonna. I mean, he's been a smooth rider despite the crashes and everything else. He's still been a smooth rider, but I think just having that 450 and being able to smooth out a little bit, I think he's gonna be able to flow a little bit more on that bike and just ride a little bit more relaxed and put the bike exactly where he wants to, exactly how he wants to. And I think that's gonna pay big dividends during the year.
Totally agree. Um, Red KTM's, Justin Barsha. Some images I saw the other day. Looks like he's got a new font for the number for the front of the bike, but aside from that, same Justin Barsha. He's gonna get good starts. He's gonna smash someone at some point, and at some point you'll be like, "Oh, look at Barsha up at like he's gonna be running like second, third, or fourth." I don't see him leading a lot of laps this year, but like, is Justin Barsha still a factor in championships like this, or?
Championship wise, no. I think the occasional outlier like a Unadilla
Hmm.
or a mud race,
Okay.
um, I think is where he puts in a podium performance. I don't know if it's going to be that way consistently just with the guys that we have and the credentials that they have coming into this championship.
Yeah.
But um Justin's, same as Eli, kind of into the swan song of his career. I think he still is planning on going. I know he's still planning on going racing next year with who we're not entirely sure of yet. I know he's been talking to teams that haven't filled out their rosters for 2026 yet.
Yeah.
Um, he's not going to cheat on effort by any means during the year. He's still going to be panic revving that gas all summer long.
Yeah, like, and yeah, I think that like it's a good looking bike. I think he's gonna have some flashes, but I don't really know what I expect from him as far as like a results throughout the season side of things. Question
I
for
would
you
say the
though.
7 to 10 range.
Yeah, 7-10. I think that would be a good season for him. I think like a top five in a moto would be like a good result with this lineup,
I
and
think so.
everyone at full
And
capacity.
add Southwick to the list.
Yeah, no,
I,
he's always good at Southwick. You're
yeah,
absolutely right,
yeah,
especially if he
definitely
can get
add
a
Southwick.
start.
You can't forget Southwick for him.
No, absolutely. Um, do you think that gas team comes back next year?
I don't think so. From everything that I'm hearing, it sounds like the gas is going to be the whole racing is going to be done going into
Yeah.
next year. From everything that I've been hearing and from the sources that I talked to during the weeks, it sounds like gas is going to be done. And um, the the other definitive thing that I have on that one is that I was told recently that Barsha's like I said a few seconds ago, Barsha is actually going around talking to teams because it doesn't sound like he's going to have, not because Gas doesn't want him, but just because Gas won't be there.
Yeah, like the ride he currently is at it won't be a spot next year, which we're not even gonna get into my thoughts on the whole white KTM, red KTM, orange KTM debacle that has unfolded
Right.
over the last 10 years. Anyway, Kawasaki, Jorge Prado, Jason Anderson. We spoke off air. Jason, one of these two guys is not going to be there next year. Jorge Prado is rolling into his very first full season of outdoors in America. The number one talking point is that he won't know the tracks. Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of time in Argentina either. Or a lot of these other race tracks that these like people always talking about, oh, I have to learn the tracks. Do you think they go to Sardinia every year? Do you think these guys go practice it's like he probably has a good amount of time in Spain, but like he probably doesn't have a lot of like a ton of time at Ernée.
No,
Like, you know what I
no,
mean? Like I don't get that. Like that I get that it's like they get a lot more practice time in the format for MXGP, but these guys learn tracks for a living.
right. They,
Everywhere these guys have ever gone, no matter where they're at, since the age of like 10 years old, they're expected to show up, unload the bike, and go faster than anybody else that day. That has been the program.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So I don't expect him to miss a beat. Honestly, I really don't.
the thing that he's going to struggle with, it's not, I mean, you can look at any video, any race coverage over the last 5 years and see how the tracks are. And 95% or better of the time, you know how the track's going to go. You know the
Hmm.
direction that it's going to go. You know how the jumps are. The only thing that's going to be different, that's going to be a little bit harder for him to figure out at the first part of the year, especially when we get back to those East Coast tracks, is how deep the ruts are. They don't prep them that deep over in Europe. Now, we were talking off camera about, or no, we talked a bit at the beginning of this about the nations last year and how deep those ruts were. That's the closest thing he's probably ridden to how most of the
Yeah.
outdoor tracks are going to be this summer. Because you look at the MXGP series, most of those ruts, save for, a sand track or just a deep, loamy track, they're not that, those ruts aren't, past the foot peg deep, and they're more hard pack, a little bit more room to
No, the
move
slot car
around.
up the finish
That's
of
the
the takeoffs and stuff like that. Like he
right. So
hasn't seen stuff like
that's where
that.
he's gonna struggle. But as far as actually figuring out how to, ride the track, and the outsides and the insides, and where to cross and this and that, I don't think he's gonna have an issue with. And especially when you get to more of those European tracks like High Point, like Unadilla,
Hmm.
um, Millville, I think would be a strong track for him. I
Thunder
think,
Valley should be a good track for a lot of Euros, and I think it has historically been a decent track. Like there's lots of elevation change, lots of off-camber stuff. I expect him to go well there.
yeah, yeah, I would say so. Any track that has a good bit of off camber, I think is a good track for the Euros.
Jason Anderson, lots of style points, gonna look good. Surprising moto here and there.
Surprising moto here and there. I'd say he could pop in for a podium in a moto, maybe an overall.
I could see him going like
Uh,
4-6 for third.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see him doing that on a weird day.
yeah,
Um, I just he's such a question mark to me coming into the outdoors just because of how Supercross ended. That was just one of
yeah.
the
All of 2025. Like
yeah, that was just a weird. That was one of in the last 10, 15 years, that was one of the weirdest series exits ever.
yes. So, and like I like there, I said there was talk about like some maybe it's just some family stuff. I just hope that all things are going well for Jason. Love to watch him ride a motorcycle. I wish he didn't wear arrow helmets because I think they're ugly. But aside from that,
You ever grabbed one of those? You ever felt one?
they don't wear anything. I thought I grabbed it, but there wasn't like there was something in my hand, but I couldn't feel it. They
Dude,
are
they're
ridiculously
light.
light. They're
They are
crazy light. They
light.
make my I have a full carbon F V3 RS Fox helmet, and it feels like a cinder block compared to those things.
Yeah, man.
Um,
The Alpine Star SM10s, like I
yeah,
thought those were light, and those arrows just
half the weight.
better
Yeah,
compared
it's a
to top
feather.
notch. It's
It seems
crazy.
crazy. I don't think I'll ever be able to get on board with like the full Euro helmet look, like the arrows, the sharks, the LS2s. Although
Right.
apparently the LS2 is coming out with a helmet that's a little bit more of the same shape as like the Fox and the Bell and a few of those other ones. But
Gotcha.
um, Jason Anderson will be fast at certain times. Hep Suzuki, they're going Colt 45, two zigzags, and by that mean I'm like one zigzag being Benoit Paturel and the other one being select rounds from Ken Roxon. Um, I'll just ask you this. Colt 45, Colt Nichols, what needs to happen for him to say like you roll out of the season and be like, that was a good outdoor year?
He needs to get a start for one thing, and that hasn't really been his strong suit the last couple of years.
Hmm.
But I think if he could actually get off the line and find and just be around that pace again, even if it's for 3 laps, but if he can do that early on into the season, whether it's Pala or Hangtown in those first couple of rounds, if he could
Hmm.
do that and figure out that pace, I think Cole could, hang for a top five if he could get off the line. And I watched some of that big money race that Glenn Helen did last weekend,
I miss Glenn Helen
uh,
as a
or
national.
middle of the week,
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah,
Moto Fest.
right. And yeah, nobody was really there, but the coverage that I saw, Cole looked good.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked like the Colt Nichols of old, if I'm being honest. The
Straight up.
250 days when Colt was just blazing fast on that Yamaha. Like that's how Colt looked. And I think he's finally
31, number 31 on the Star Racing Yamaha.
yeah. I think he's finally starting to get that feeling back that he had from, 4 or 5 years ago. And I think if he could get off the line on that Suzuki, I think that would do huge things for him as far as just getting that confidence to be like, hey, okay, I still know how to do this. And now that I've given myself a shot, let's go do it.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I hope that the win at MotoFest at Glen Helen, which I wish there was a national, just because I watched a bunch of old ones recently, and it's like that was such a great national track, and they actually like brought out a ton of fans. You could actually be like in and around the track. You watch Paula, and like no one, it looks like there's nobody there because the cameras are like essentially where the fans are standing. So like the camera's not going to point straight down and look at all the people standing there, but
Right.
yeah, when you go to Glen Helen, it looks like the fans are literally like on top of the racetrack in every section. But that's
We need
also,
that camera shot at the top of the hill,
yeah,
just overlooking everything. If the TV crew can do that for Mount Martin at
yeah,
Millville here, if they can do that, then
mm-hmm,
then we're halfway there.
100%,
We
100%.
at least have that. We at least have that shot. It may not be the shot of Glen Helen, but we have that shot.
So they recently released, I think it was yesterday or like I've known about this for about 3 weeks or so. Benoit Paturel has been riding Yamahas for the better part of 40 years or so.
Right.
Um, and now finds himself like on Hep Suzuki racing a full outdoor program. Uh, this might be the most curious signing outside of like Cody Cooper 2008.
Or like a Sean Hamlin in
Sure,
two.
that's
I
right
mean,
up there as well.
yeah. I
Like
mean,
I honestly haven't heard a lot around Benoit Paturel since when was the last time he represented France for more Cross the Nations? 21?
2019 maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
It
I think
might it
so.
might be closer to what you're saying. I can't.
I think
But
he
he
like
never.
subbed in because like someone didn't go or something like that. Either way,
That's the only reason he's ever been on that team. It's
yeah,
because
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
got hurt or
So
politics.
what do you expect?
I don't know. I don't. I'd say that 12 to 15 range
Does he get
for him.
starts?
Honestly,
Like I already literally don't know enough about Benoit Paturel to know like
he,
if I'm gonna see a yellow fender up front like early and then have him like drop anchor and then see you later.
as far as I remember from the MXGP days, he's hit and miss. There are
Is he
times
gonna
where
battle Benny Bloss all summer? Is that my question? Is maybe that's my question.
on a good day he battle Benny.
Okay,
Wait, is
cool.
even are Beta going outdoors?
Yeah, Beta
Okay.
Benny. Yeah.
Um, I'd say yeah. I'd say Benny would probably get the better of him.
Does someone fill in
On tomorrow.
for Freckle at Beta? I know someone asked me about Zacho. I'm like, I don't think Zach's racing outdoors now.
Zach's not. He
He's
has that ambassador role that
yeah,
they announced.
ambassador
I don't
role.
think
I think that's
anybody's
good too.
filling in for Mitch for that for that
Hmm.
spot. I think they're just going racing with Benny. If they're going outdoors like you're saying, then I think they're just going racing with Benny.
Are they just doing the first three?
I think that yeah, they're not doing the whole year.
Okay. So yeah, they're
That's
gonna
that's why
do
that's why I was asking the question because I knew they were doing the first
they'll
few
do the
just right
East
there
yeah,
out
they'll do the
west.
West Coast Nationals.
Yeah, they might save to go to Redbud or something, but I think they'll do the first three, and then I think they'll do
Like
Washougal.
Redbud, Washougal, maybe Spring Creek, because like you're gonna go in successive weekends, you're gonna go Redbud, then 7 days later you're in Millville, then you go in Washington, then you just drive the truck back down to NorCal.
Right.
That is cost effective, kinda. If going racing can have to be
If you go to
cost
Redbud
effective.
first, yeah, yeah. If you go to Redbud first, then it's cost effective.
Yeah, just because you gotta drive by Spring Creek on the way home anyway.
Right.
If you're you're just gonna drive from Redbud, Michigan, Buchanan, Michigan to Washougal, Washington. Okay, let's dive straight into the 250s here. We're running long. Do you still have time?
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Okay,
good.
good. All right, cool, cool. All right, 250 class. Honda. It's Joe Shimoda, it's Chance Hymas. Both these guys, I think, have a lot to prove this summer. Um, like, I think honestly, I think both guys. are on very even footing outdoors. Maybe more speed from Chance, maybe a little bit more consistency from Joe. What do you think from the two Honda guy?
I'd say you hit the nail on the head. That's kind of what my thoughts were. And we saw it from Chance last year. We haven't seen it from Joe in a couple of years, but this is where Chance really needs to step up and show, hey, I'm one of those guys with Hayden and with Tom. Because like I said, he won a couple of motos last year before he had that big crash into Dylan. That was the end of the season. But and the thing is, he's still young. He's still only 19 years old, I think. But he hasn't
Yeah.
he hasn't had the full season yet. He finally made it through a full season of Supercross. Now he needs to do it in the outdoors and show that, like, hey, I can manage a whole season, but I can still be up front for a whole season. But Chance is the third guy, I would say, behind Hayden and Tom, that really needs to throw his hand in the air and say, hey, I'm in it for this title.
I think we're gonna find out everything we need to know about this summer with Chance Hymas at round three in Colorado.
I'd agree with that. I don't think Paula is going to be I don't think Paula's going to be any indication of what
Paula
brings summer.
sucks.
Paula's just
She's
not a good track.
it's not a good track. It is the fact that we've lost so many tracks in California is ridiculous. But the fact that like in Southern California, that's our best option for a national is Fox Raceway Paula. Like I
Well, do you
hate
see,
that track.
you see that they're getting one back now?
Which oh
Elton.
yeah, like Lake
Yeah,
Elsinore. Like
yeah.
and I don't like that track either. But I would much rather go back to Lake Elsinore as a
The
national.
only thing that track was missing was just quality dirt. The
Yeah,
layout was fine, but the
yeah, it's
dirt there
fine.
was terrible.
Yeah, no, like I think with the reopening of that, I think that is the first thing I thought. I'm like that needs to be the national going forward because Fox Raceway sucks. Um, respectfully, disrespectfully. Um, Star Racing Yamaha, they have about 11 billion riders. I think they have to have at least three trucks just to carry around Haiden Deegan's ego. But and he'll probably wear different gear than the rest of the team all season long. But you know what? Hey, he wins a lot of races and he's a two-time SMX champ. And he's gonna rock the number one throughout this entire season. Most people would consider him the guy to beat. Um, start us off with Haiden Deegan. The kid's brash, he's fast. Um, he's got all the off the track antics, but you know what? When it comes to outdoors, he performs. He is he's consistently faster than the guys he races against, and you can't fake fitness.
No, you
So
absolutely, and that's the one thing that he has always had from 65 days all the way to now. He's had the stamina. The one question that I have of him is, does he go for the entire thing this summer? Does he try and match Ricky and James on that record boat on that perfect season?
you think he's gonna like actually like nose down, ass up? I'm gonna try and win 22 straight motos here.
Would you expect anything less?
Honestly, from that camp, no.
Right.
Um, but like, because I think there's a lot of people who like he's this is his like farewell tour to the 250 class. I'm not even 100% convinced that he bothers defending his title in 450 super or 250 Supercross next year. If he like I could totally see him if he races 250 Supercross, I could see him going east and staying east because they're training and practicing on the East Coast. But like I would be the least bit shocked to be like if Brian Deegan all of a sudden November rolls around and be like, no, we're racing 450 class, see you at A1.
Well, it's going to
Um,
depend on the regulations that are changing going into Supercross for that 250 class. Well, I mean, both classes are changing next year, but it's going to be
right.
significantly hampering the 250. So depending on how he feels on the 250, once the team, modifies the engine and the mapping and everything to accommodate for the
The
decimal
decibels.
drop
Yeah.
that's going to happen, that's going to be the determining factor on whether or not he runs
Wants to
250.
stick around and race the vacuum cleaner for another 6 weeks or six
Right.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's gonna put a damper on things. I think Deegan is until I see otherwise, he's your number one contender. He's my favorite for the championship, and I'll just say it, in North America, he is the fastest 250 rider that is currently circulating the track. And he's on one of the best. He's on the one of the best teams in the sport
Not the
as of right
fastest
now.
bike.
He's got the fastest bike for sure. He does.
Not the fastest bike. North America wise, he's the fastest guy. Obviously, this conversation is still 5 months from happening, but if we could actually get him, and I think he wants to actually do it since it's, on home soil, and if he doesn't do donations, then that's just going to be a bad look. But I think, once we get to October, if he's on that team, I think not only does he have the speed, but he has the consistency compared to everybody else over in Europe to be a factor for that race. But going back to this championship, yeah, he's the odds-on favorite. He is the defending champion, and he's got all the momentum in the world from that Supercross title. Plus, he's just that one guy on that line that absolutely hates losing. And that was exactly how Ricky was. That's how
Yeah,
Bob Hannah was back in the 70s. I mean, that's just the kind of attitude that gets you those titles.
right.
The way it
And to
is.
be that dominant, he absolutely hates losing, way more than he enjoys winning. He isn't like he's very almost like Villapoto-esque when he comes across the finish line with winning. Like it's more of yeah, that's what's supposed to happen when you work that goddamn hard, rather than like a joyful like, look, I achieved the goal I was looking for. It's almost like yeah, it's more, there's more angst to it than there is just pure joy.
Well, there's the
Um,
back end motivation to shut up all the haters.
of course, and like as much as like there like people want to dispute that, there are a lot of people who are like, I don't like that kid. I don't like the cut of his jib. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like this or that. I wish bad things upon him. And yeah, it'd be very satisfying to just give every single one of those people a nice big grin and be like, got another one.
Right.
But he's, like I said, he's got a lot of teammates. Max Anstey is by far the oldest of them. Um, I don't know what to expect from Max. Like every time I think, like Max is kind of like Cooper Webb to me. Every time I'm like, Cooper Webb's done, he goes ahead and wins the championship. So, um, and like Max Anstey, like he's had like five different career renaissances. Um, like he was he not the fastest guy in the 250 East until he crashed, like then until he exited the series? Like
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
and him and Kitchen were right
Him and
there.
Kinsey for sure. Yeah, Max, now that he's had a fall
Uh-huh.
to get used to that bike compared to jumping in mid-season like he did last year.
Southwick. I don't know if that
Right.
was the best move.
Eh, he's ridden worse tracks.
Definitely. I just mean as far as like
Right.
like jumping into a series mid is like trying to jump on a treadmill when it's going 1,000 miles an hour. Like it,
Right.
unless you're really on top of it, it's gonna be a bad time. But like honestly,
I'd say
Anstey,
he's in
Brown,
that conversation as long as I don't know about Pierce. I'd say Anstie is in the
Pierce is the
conversation.
biggest question mark on this team.
Pierce is the biggest question mark. When I went to Goat Farm there about 7 or 8 weeks ago, Pierce still wasn't on the bike. And I mean, yeah, that was only, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks removed from his crash at Tampa, and it was a vertebrae or two. So I mean, that's
Hmm.
understandable. But um, and Pierce, man, I like the kid. He's just too inconsistent for me to really be a factor during
Yeah.
the year. He has those big crashes like he did at Tampa, like he did a couple years ago on that gas at Paula. He or Hangtown, whichever California round it was when he knocked himself out. But he's got the speed for sure. Pierce has always had the speed, but just the consistency. So I'd say, a top five out of him would be good during the year.
Everything you just said about Mosman?
Yeah.
Yeah, like are those two not like
Oh wait, I got them backward. That was Moseman that had the big crash. That's I
yeah,
thought it was Brown, but
exactly.
you're right, it was Moseman.
Who popped the back of his head and then was like seeing
Correct.
stars and all that fun stuff.
And then we never
In
saw him again.
fairness, I think they were running basically the same number. Like if
Yeah.
basically if you ran number 30 in for Troy Lee Designs KTM, like know that I think you're all the same person, and know that my like much like Shane McElrath, my only memory of you wearing number 30 is hurting yourself.
Right.
Like remember in I think it was what race is it at?
Well,
I
same with
want
Heartraft.
Heart Raft
Heartraft
also
ran
wearing
30 on the
30 and
KTM, yeah.
and just like yeah, wearing a racetrack for a helmet. Like it's like McElrath went down so hard that his glove blew off that one time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Where was that?
Um,
Is it
is that
Unadilla?
Colorado?
No, it's not Colorado. It was like it's like a sweeping corner in the back of somewhere. Ah,
No, it might have been Southwick.
I
That
think
that
it
down
is
sweeper
Southwick. It
heading
is
towards the
Southwick.
finish.
It's the same spot where Billy Lininovich died like years earlier.
Yeah, and where
There's that high speed
who
corner where it's like you just got it all wrong. Is it
yeah, and who was it that rode the front wheel forever and then finally endoed it in the 250 class a few years ago?
RJ? Probably
Was it?
RJ. I don't
I think it
remember.
was RJ.
It's someone, probably or Jordan Smith.
Might have been
Or
Jordan.
Jordan. Like we'll get to him in a short bit here. Uh, Art or J Mart. The like I take back everything I said about Brown being the biggest question mark. I don't know what to expect from this guy because that's a
So,
two-time champ, but that was 10 years ago.
right. So here's the reports that I've been
He
getting.
rode a carbureted version of this motorcycle in this class
Yeah.
for a
Here,
My Plash Yamaha.
here are the reports that I'm getting
Mm.
from sources tied to Goat Farm. He's faster than everybody except J Coop. Yeah.
I believe that too. I hate that for
Everybody
everyone.
except J Coop. He's a second or two faster a lap.
That's wild. I know he probably hates Paula Raceway more than I do, but and I love that that national is also like the main sponsor is literally the casino that's in the parking lot. Um
Right.
it's awesome. But I think we're gonna find out what J Mart has at Hangtown. And I think
And
Hangtown is gonna tell like because I think he's racing 3 races, I think is like
oh, he's doing
the
the they
full
announced the
year.
ticket for the full
They
year.
announced it today, the whole year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was like, so that means that means testing or preseason riding is going very, very well.
Oh yeah.
When he's like
If
it
he's
was
going
originally,
that
oh, we're gonna do a
fast, and
few, and then like, oh no, we're gonna race them all.
right, exactly. If he's going that fast and he does a few and then he's like top five in the points, then he's like, then even if Bobby didn't want to or Rich didn't want to, Jeremy's gonna go, yeah, we're doing the other eight.
How long before him and Deegan have beef? Maybe
Uh,
now?
give it Colorado.
Oh, I think it's that before that. If he's actually going that fast and Deegan's going that fast, that like it might be like after the first qualifying. That like Deegan comes out and be like, yeah,
Okay,
kids from
quiet.
the like I don't know much about Minnesota. I think they got some snow up there or something. Like he'll just have some chirps about Minnesota being shitty. And then
Right.
yeah, I don't know. But J Mart, like, yeah, like that could be wild. Um
Well, he just did that marathon a few weeks ago too.
like um maybe not
That
riding
might have been
fitness,
Alex.
but just straight fitness, like just straight fitness. J Mart fittest guy in the 250 class.
I'd agree with that.
I think he's just the fittest guy. I think like he has more in the tank than anybody else. And that also just comes down to man strength of just being older and like having that endurance. We're gonna get into some stuff on like sort of who's on the hot seat later. But Daxton Bennick will be missing at least the first 3 rounds. I don't expect him to. I don't expect him to see. I don't expect him to. I don't expect to see him until High Point.
Yeah.
Much like there's a number of guys. Davies broken arm all year.
He's out for the first, he's out until probably Redbud.
Yeah. Yeah, I could like he's not gonna like I could see Redbud onward and then but honestly I don't hate that for him because it's a rookie year. Like,
He wasn't supposed to be racing this year anyway.
yeah, exactly. So go out like pressure free. Like I could absolutely see if he comes back full head of steam, he could be on the podium.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
for sure.
like we could easily see a Washougal or an Ironman, which is now the third last round, where Cole Davies is on the podium with J Mart and Deegan, and no one bats an eye. And it's like um, back in 2008 when Pro Circuit was just like one, two, three, four.
Right.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Carson Wood he's gonna racing amateurs, right?
He's still a B rider.
Yeah, he's
He's
racing B.
not even
So
an A rider. Their
that's
A
right.
they've got after Loretta's this year, they've got um
Who's their A guy?
the name just escaped me. He crashed at Daytona, so he was injured.
Why am I blanking on their A guy?
I was just at the track. I watched him ride. Why am I Caden Dudney.
Hayden Dundee. Okay,
He's
yes.
starting after outdoors, and then so is I don't know if he's actually doing Loretta's or not, but they've got their other kid that's coming in that's gonna do future, and I think he's only gonna do the three if he does anything at
Oh,
all.
Minear.
Yeah, Cade Manier.
Cade
Yeah.
Minear, that's right.
Because he's been
Um,
back the last few weeks. He's been riding there.
so I'll just ask you this, like those combines or the SMX next outdoor rounds, do you see those becoming more prevalent or weighted heavier than the like Loretta's has in the past, like just being that one event that's sort of like is the measuring stick. Now you're gonna have these A riders and some B riders all in the same place, same track, same time. Let's find out.
I think it should get to that point if it's not on the plan to go to that level, just because I think it needs to be more of a I don't know if you want to call it a feeder system, like how the EMX classes are over in Europe with the 250 and the 125 and 85 and all that. I think doing 6 rounds out of 11 would be good, but keep them to the central ones that are a little bit easier for most guys to make that trip to. But
Yeah.
and I think I don't know how it is necessarily for the motocross rounds. I know the supercross it's more on an invitation basis, but for the outdoors, I think it needs to be a little bit more open and let other guys get in there and just sign up. Just because more than not, the kids that are going to race those things here within the next 2 or 3 years are going to be getting their pro cards, but entering the outdoors in the pro ranks on their own as a privateer in the back of a van. So I think they need to open up more for guys like that to just let them get the experience. Don't you know I and I if they haven't done it already, I don't know if it's because there's still the pro-am races that you got to get your points for, or what the reasoning is behind it, unless there's just not enough time to do it all since we do everything in a day during the outdoors. But I also think it'd be cool on that note to bring it back to 2 days like it used to be. I know
Yeah.
the
Or have them
factory
do one of the motos
don't want
during
to do
amateur
that.
day or press day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think the factory guys would want to do a 2 day format, but I think it'd be cool to do that. It'd get more, I think it'd be better on getting the exposure out there and stuff for everybody, the amateurs, the pros, everything, if they would go back to a 2 day format, whether that's a Friday, Saturday or a Saturday, Sunday. I don't think, MX Sports and everybody's gonna want to come off Saturdays at all for the TV coverage and stuff. But I think doing a Friday, Saturday, 2 day or a day and a half format, I don't think would be a huge issue for anybody.
No, it like when you think of the old format of how outdoors were, like it is kind of crazy to think of like how the stark contrast of like press day was still Friday, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Saturday was just practice. They got I think it was at least 3 sessions, and then you also had like some like feet like filler classes. Like they usually do like a super mini class and like a couple other like support classes would ride on Saturday, and then all day Sunday is just like it's 4 motos plus like I think they would still do like an early morning first thing practice, and
They
also
do
the
practice and
qualifying
then
races.
yeah, they do the practice and then they do the
LCQs.
preliminary for the guys outside the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Though that was wild. I actually really, as a fan, I loved those going to those events because it was like nonstop awesome. Like, because I was also ride amateur day, so like I'm there from like Thursday to the end of Sunday, and I
Oh,
had
same
5 days
here. Yeah.
of just the basically the circuses in town, which
Well, when
is
there was
like,
no, it was just practice. It wasn't time qualifying, so you'd intermix. You'd get the top 125 and the top 250 guys.
oh, James
Practice.
Stewart was on the track with Ricky Carmichael all the time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, him on a KX 125 and RC's on a CRF 450, and like there's a number of photos where they're in the same shot, and you're just like,
Yeah,
yeah. And of course, that's when everyone breaks out the stopwatches because it's not timed, but it's always timed.
right, exactly.
Let's get serious. Club MX Yamaha. I'm gonna kind of gloss over these guys, and I apologize to everybody over there, but Cody Schock, Jett Reynolds, Max Voland, Simonson question mark. I think that was Supercross only. But
I don't know if he's outdoors or not. I'm not entirely sure if Cody's going to race 250 outdoors or if he's
I
going
think
to
you
go.
put him on a 450. Why
I think
not?
so, but it sounds like from what I'm hearing, it sounds like Cody is going to do 450 full time next year.
Okay. But like the reason why Cody Schock is on everyone's radar at all is that he was like a 450 superhero like 4 years ago
Yeah, he
on
was
a
the
Honda.
privateer hero.
Yeah, he was like the guy flying the flag for and like getting like top fives in 450 outdoors when the class was depleted, sort of say. But like I don't think that the like what do they look to gain by having Cody like rolling out Cody Schock in the 250 class, getting 8, 9, 10
Yeah,
all summer long?
I got Cody being an undervalued top five.
You think you top five?
I think so. I think Cody has got that style where he just I like how Cody looks on a bike.
100%. I'm not saying that he's not
And it's
fast.
and
I would be surprised to see him consistently top five though in this field.
consistently, okay, maybe not consistently, but I think more often than not, I think he could be in that 5 to 7 range and mix it up with those guys because he's got the endurance.
Yeah.
He's not always had like flashy speed, but he's there. And
Hmm.
he I think he's finally in a he's in a place now where he has got his program figured out. He's getting starts, and Club has that motor dial. They've got the mapping
Yeah,
figured
they
out.
get
Get
starts. They
start,
get starts.
and
I
he's getting more and more confidence.
Here's the thing for me. In a class with Smoking Joe Shimoda, Chance Hymas, Deegs, J Mart, uh, Vial, Juju, Ryder D, Hamaker, Adams, Marchbanks, Kitchen. I I'm either underestimating the absolute fuck out of Cody Schock, or I'm giving those guys too much respect. Probably
I
the
think
latter, but
I think, and I'm not disagreeing with your viewpoint at all. I just feel like Cody is just that one guy that this year, this summer, that's gonna raise everybody's eyebrows compared to the rest of those guys.
I could see that. I could see him definitely being the fastest on his team, or at least the highest performing, even if he isn't the fastest in qualifying. Here's one thing I will say about Cody Schock: he doesn't read jerseys. He doesn't give a single fuck who's around him.
No, he
Like
doesn't.
so, like if there's
Well,
someone,
and that's helped by the fact that he started his career in the 450 class
yeah,
outdoors.
exactly.
He
Like
he squared off against the very best from second one.
exactly. So I think that's a huge feather in his cap, or something that he can carry forward. And like if Deegs is knocking on the door, bring it. Anstey, bring it. Brown, bring it. Like I don't think he doesn't he's unflappable when it comes to that, but just on like skill and speed outdoors, I have to give some put some respect in some of these guys who have wins and in some cases championships in this class. So but yeah, let's move on to the Red Bull KTM's. VL coming off of a second consecutive East Coast title. The guy's got more. I think does he have more East Coast championships than he has national wins?
I think it's even.
That's crazy. Like
And
he's supposed to be an
I think
outdoor
I think
guy.
I think it's even on the championships versus the outdoor wins. I think he's up one on Supercross wins compared to outdoor wins.
Yeah,
He
he
got two
has set
last
the
year.
record for most the least amount of wins with two championships in the 250 class. Is
Correct.
wild. But hey,
He didn't Tim Ferry it. He at
no, he
least
didn't.
got
He
two wins.
damn close to Tim Ferried it though.
He came close, but that ride in Pittsburgh was I was there that night. That ride in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh was clutch.
special.
That's what
That's
got
what
him
gets
that
you
title.
championship. 100%, 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's him and Juju. And like for as awesome as the beginning of the year was for Julian Bomir, we have seen a shadow of that since he popped his shoulder out. As someone who's a proud owner of two absolutely garbage shoulders, I can tell you that that's going to be a recurring issue until he gets it fixed. And even if they get it fixed, as my doctor told me, the shoulder is the most capable and unstable joint in the human body.
Yeah.
Damage to it, it's never going to be more stable than it was before you get it fixed, or before you hurt it the first time. So, not to say that that's like a death sentence for his career, but going forward, I think he's going to be a little at least on the back foot for the remainder of this season.
I
And
would think
yeah,
so.
we haven't seen him really do a whole lot outdoors.
I would think so. And if he can get through this season healthy, I would think that maybe depending on how bad his shoulder is, if he needs surgery on it, um,
Did they pull the pin at some point?
depending on how he's doing, if he gets through the whole outdoor season, then depending on how the shoulder is, if he has to have surgery, does Ian and Roger and everybody pull the pin before SMX? Or is there enough time where they can do SMX, then immediately get him in and then just slot him in for 250 East next year? That's the question.
Totally see that. I could
But as far
absolutely
as
see
his
that.
performance, I just and I mean it's not anything against him, but it's his own. I mean, I'm just looking on paper at, what he did towards the end of the Supercross season this year with the shoulder injury plus the head games that he was losing against Hayden. He didn't have the speed. And I know he's more of an outdoor guy, despite the fact that he has that technical ability to
Hmm.
be very, very good in Supercross, and we've seen that. But he hasn't shown it outdoors. He had a really rough year last year. It was his rookie year, obviously, but he just didn't, to me, show anything that's going to be like, hey, okay, I'm hearing that in that top four, top five conversation.
I agree. I would like to see him take a step forward, but I need to see it. We can gloss over Husqvarna because there won't be any white KTM's out there this year. Look for them to be coming back in full force next year when Gas goes away completely. Um, what encouraging to see, as we mentioned earlier, Lake Elsinore coming back, and also the return of Casey Cochran. A podium and an amazing ride. Did he not win the second moto in Millville? Is he just
No, he got
gone?
second.
Second, that's
He
right.
got second.
Got second. I think we got like the end of his pro career was sort of like kind of he had a he like the end of his end of his amateur career was sort of like fumbled, or not fumbled, but like sort of disjointed in the fact that he literally popped his shoulder out
Yeah.
mid moto, put it back in, and still raced, still went faster than I'll ever go on a dirt bike, which is
And
fun.
still won the title in the other class too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Iron
But
Man.
it was
But
B. That's how long ago it was B class. That's
yeah,
how far back
exactly.
that goes. Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't even see him last year, right? He wasn't even he was
Last year we saw him because he got that podium at Millville.
right, but he didn't even like he wasn't like they brought him out, and like he's full outdoor, like he raced all outdoors last year.
Right.
Yes. So and that's why he's number 40 this year.
Mhm.
Him and Ryder D, like I think they've both sort of had like a kind of failure to launch pro careers so far.
And from everything that I've been gathering, it's no fault of their own. It
Yeah,
was separate, sounds like similar but separate uh bike issues that was completely out of their control, and it ruined both of their years.
exactly. So a fresh start for Ryder D. as for in a lot of ways. Obviously, this is the second year with TLD KTM slash he was on he was on was he spent was it is 2 years on gas, right? No.
No, he went from pro circuit and then he's over on gas.
This is his first. Was he on Pro Circuit last year?
I don't even remember because like that first or the first 2 years, it was that whole weird deal. He was still on an amateur contract, but he ran the
Right.
outdoors. I can't
This
remember it.
this is not great audio, but like Ryder D, he's on my hot seat later for guys who really need to have a hell of a year because his stock is about as low as it's ever been, and that's just because we haven't had the results.
Yeah,
Both these guys need to have a good year, and honestly, they can both do it, which is crazy.
yeah. I'm like, and it was a shame with Ryder going out because he was looking so good in Supercross
Yeah.
until that practice bike malfunction that ruined his Supercross season. But man, he was looking good, and I think he was going to get. He got that podium in a wet race, but I think he was going to do really well in a dry race
Mhm.
and really put himself in that conversation with Hayden and Juju and Cole. I really feel like he was riding to that level, and then to see it gone was a bummer. But yeah, I think um, yeah, is definitely one that needs to show what he's capable of. Casey is even farther back. That crash and that injury that he had, like that's more gnarly than what people realize. Like he hasn't
100%.
gone full public. I've talked to him about it. I've talked to his mom about it. Um, it was way gnarlier. I'm not gonna like spill the details on it for him. Like I'm not gonna talk out of turn on that on his behalf,
Of
but it
course.
was it was way, way gnarlier than what people realize. And he was off the bike even longer than what the doctors were initially giving him because of how bad everything was.
Right.
Um, so I don't know what to expect out of him. I love that he's riding and he's such a good kid. Um, I just don't know where to put him since we haven't seen him in almost a year now. And that huge,
I want to see him do get a whole season under his belt. I really don't care what the results look like. I just want to see him race every single round, and that to me is a win for Casey Cochran in 2025.
that too. And then, but unfortunately for him and with the way the climate is going on the KTM side of things, on the PMG side of things, he needs to have something to at least maybe get himself back on white for next year.
Hmm.
Maybe same thing with Ryder because I'm assuming right now they don't have rides next year because of the more than likely, forthcoming conclusion to gas.
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see one of those guys on the outside looking in, possibly like receiving some phone calls from like a Club of Max at the end of this year,
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say for either one of them,
which is a
I'd
great
say
program, but
it
not
is. It
that great.
absolutely is. I say for both of them, I would say a top 10 outdoors this season. I'd say gets them a ride somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. But there's like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of guys who are going to be vying for that top 10, four of which all happen to be riding green bikes. And I will humbly say that I think all four of these guys can win a race, like win a moto.
Yeah.
Kitchen, Hammaker, Adams, Marchbanks, in the right conditions, all four of those guys can lead laps and come
You're
across
missing one. You're missing one.
and Masterpool
Yeah. Who has one?
and has won. He with the 300th.
He's he's the one guy out of that five that has one.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you forget because he's been hurt, but he's also been down in Texas just motoing.
Right.
Um, yeah, like number 29 this year.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, all five of those guys can win a race. All five of those guys can win a race.
And I mean, as odd as this may sound to some people, I mean, Masterpool is the top guy on that team.
Outdoors
Really,
wise, yes.
for outdoors. Yeah,
Outdoor
absolutely.
skills and like guys who've actually proven it, like unless until one of the other guys shows you otherwise, yeah, he would be the front runner of that team. I think I guess like Kitchen and Hammaker like 2A and 2B. Adams is a rookie. And Marchbanks,
I'd
he's
say
just so
Master
big on a
Pool and
250.
Kitchen. I'd say Master Pool and Kitchen 1A, 1B, then Hammaker.
Sure.
Um, then honestly, I would
I would put Adams ahead of Marchbanks. Sorry.
that's where I was going, and there's nothing that we have to prove that other than the fact that our that Marchbanks hasn't. Uh,
Canada.
yeah,
He got second in the Canadian championship. No, but
yeah,
straight up, the kid, he's that honestly, physically, they're almost identical because they're both
that
man
is true.
children.
Yeah,
But if at like that, we know that bike can get starts.
yeah.
And Adams, like from everything that I saw from him riding at Loretta's last year, like he's legit. He is
Oh,
absolutely super legit.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's the wild card for me this summer just because he only has one outdoor and it didn't go
Particularly
great.
well.
Didn't
No.
go bad. It just didn't go great.
I did love that he rode with Robbie Reynard's number 593.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
on his amateur bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, look out for the Pro Circuit Cowies. I hope good things for those guys just because A, I grew up running Cowies. Secondly, they've been snake bitten for long enough. Um, Triumph.
And it happens again 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I
Come
know,
on.
I know. It's
Come on.
it's a sad state of affairs, but here we are, 2025. We're moving forward. Used to be on green for what feels like forever. He probably raced a KX 65 at some point.
He did.
Austin Faulkner, um, first year with Triumph. He needs to have a big summer. He needs to have a consistent summer. He needs to show that he still has speed outdoors to contend for podiums and top fives and championships. Jordan Smith coming back for like is he all systems go? Because he did ride after the crash with Davies, right?
Yeah, and then he pulled the pin before the main.
Right, but he like there's a
Yeah,
chance that we see him all summer.
he's until an announcement comes out in the next 2 days, that says otherwise. Jordan will be racing this weekend. Um, he hasn't been. He's never been the strongest outdoor guy.
He just hasn't been like I bet he probably has more Supercross starts than he does outdoor starts.
Yeah,
It's not close.
right. Yeah, that's a big discrepancy between the number of starts on Supercross and outdoors. Austin, I think if he could save for a top 12 by the end of the summer, I'd say that's good. I think the Triumph guys, I think they're giving him. There's all this talk from people that are just skeptics. They're fans of the sport, but they're skeptics just because of they're on the whole, you're only as good as your last race, and not they're not taking in the fact that Austin has had a major last 12, 15 months. And I think everybody ought to be cutting him some slack. And the fact that the two of the last three races he showed phenomenal speed in qualifying and in heat races and Supercross, I think that was finally a sign of things to come. Do I think it transfers over to this summer? More than likely, no. But I think if he can get through the whole entire summer and build upon it, I think maybe for 2026 we start seeing a little bit of the old Austin Faulkner, because to expect him to be the Austin Faulkner of old after everything that he went through, starting last February, I think is kind of ridiculous from
Mhm.
all honesty.
Yeah, and like honestly, and on top of the fact of getting used to a brand new motorcycle and a team that likely is still going to have a few teething issues as far as bike wise. Last year, Jalek Swoll, who is still out by the way, correct?
He's actually today was day two back on the motorcycle. He's not going to
Okay,
race this summer, but he's actually back on the motorcycle, which is
he's back
nice.
on a bike, which is good. But Swoll and Savachi had all kinds of issues with was they were on stock ECUs or get ECUs last year, or they were wanting to do get ECUs,
I
and
think they
it
were
was
on.
electrical problems all summer long.
I think they were trying to remap stock ECUs that couldn't handle the
Couldn't do it.
power
Yeah,
load. Maybe
right.
I think that was the actual issue.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think Get had an ignition that was actually going to. work
Work.
and where the bike was gonna where it wouldn't have even like really started, let
But I
alone
think they're on an
how it out.
ECU now.
I think they've got an ECU now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the biggest, like, you as well as I know, 250 outdoors, it's bike. Like,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
more than any, maybe another class in any other championship. 250 outdoors, you gotta have the horsepower, you gotta be able to pull the hills and all that fun stuff. If you don't have it, you're out there, it's a knife and a gunfight. So, I'm gonna gloss over Suzuki because as far as I know, that'll be privateer only.
Yeah,
Given the fact that Bar X Suzuki is now a Yamaha team.
correct.
Uh, Before we get off the 250s, who is the biggest threat to Haiden Deegan this summer?
I'm gonna say Tom. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
two-time world champion. He was one of the only guys to put it against Hayden, or maybe he was the only guy to put it against Hayden last year, and he's the odds-on favorite to actually do it because he's the only one with the resume to confidently say that compared to everybody else, other than J Mart, but it's been 5 years for J Mart. So, I mean, other than what we talked about earlier about what I've heard from Goat Farm, until I see it out of J Mart, then I'm not gonna, hold my breath on it. But for the guys that have been racing, it's Tom.
That certainly is. All right. So who need like 250s, 250s and 450s? Who needs to have a big summer? We're gonna go three guys who need two or three guys that need a big summer in the 250s. A few guys that we've already talked this kind of to death already a little bit. Who needs a big summer to turn some heads and sort of maybe change the narrative a little bit in the 450s? Let's go 250s first. Um, I'm gonna say Masterpool, and I'm gonna say Ryder D, as well as Daxton Bennick. Those are the three guys for me that need to come out and turn some heads in order to uh, honestly just to impress people and continue to have a ride.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I had pretty much all three of those guys on my list as well. I think Marchbanks is solid for another year, maybe with Pro Circuit. Um, I don't know that for sure. Masterpool is always on a year-to-year deal, and it sounds like unless something, unless Dax can really pull something together once he's back, since he's going to miss the first few rounds,
Yeah,
it sounds like he's going to be out at Star, so they can bring in Dudney and or Manier, since that's the
yeah.
plan over there in Cairo. But yeah, I'd say Masterpool as long as he's healthy, I think he'll be okay. Garrett, I mean, we talked about this that those things start well. Garrett is hit and miss on the starts just because of his size,
Yeah.
and then Dax just, I mean, he gets the outlier podium at the first round 2 years in a row for Supercross, and then doesn't really do anything
And his
after that.
first ever national red buddy goes fastest qualifier.
Right? Yeah, yeah, I forgot about
So yeah, like the thing is, like Daxton Bennick gets the like when you go out to Loretta's and win Open Pro Sport on a 250F, there's expectations. A lot of guys have gone and done exactly that, stepped into the pros and made their presence known immediately. When
that.
you don't do that, and then you also have a very competitive atmosphere like Star Racing Yamaha, where there always seems to be another guy behind you who happens to be employed by your employer that they like, hey, that might be our guy. And they don't seem to have the same patience that other teams have just because they have such a roster to focus on. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Dax like go somewhere else to have maybe like a career renaissance and sort of rejuvenate himself. Um, am I off base?
No, no, not at all. Like you know, we've talked about this repeatedly, here now and before we started recording, but um, you know, Dax is that guy, and the him winning Pro Sport Loretta's on the 250, not that big of a deal since all the big guys are on 250s
Yeah, they're
now.
all in 250s, but still.
I think it's more of a bigger thing if you get somebody to win on a 450 in that class, which usually isn't a factory supported guy anyway.
Right.
But Dax, I know he's talking to teams. I think one of them after Salt Lake is kind of had the door shut in his face. There were rumors of him talking to Roger and Ian over at KTM, but I think with Tom winning that title, Aaron already re-signed. It sounds like there's a really strong possibility that's where Eli ends up, with Juju already there. I think that kind of closes the door on him for KTM. I've also heard rumors that he is in talks with Lars over at Honda. And that's also due to the fact that it sounds like Joe might be going back green after this season. I mean, there's so many moving pieces and
Jesus.
rumors right now. Like it's hard to say where anybody is going to end up, but I mean, Dax has the most room to play with because he's more than likely, from what it sounds like, is definitely out at Star after this season.
And like, hey, he's got speed, and like, I think with Dax, aside from the head injuries, like, we don't necessarily know what we have with that guy.
No.
So the question mark is what will allow him to have the opportunity. You know what I mean? Because there's some people out there who be like, you know what? I think there is something in there, and they're gonna at least try. They give him an opportunity to find out whether he does or not. Where that is yet to be answered. 450 class. I have Ferrandis, Prado, and Barsha. Like, I don't know what we're gonna get from Ferrandis when we get him back. I really don't. I think it could be awesome. It could be terrible. I think if it's terrible, that this I don't see him coming back consistently in North America.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird deal with him and the program where he's on with that he's on over at Phoenix because I think that's so much help from Factory Connection over
That's
there
right.
with his ride that it's and but it sounds like he gels well over there with Heath and with David and everybody.
It's fine.
Um, but it's such a toss up with him because of the resume that he has, but he's just not that guy anymore. But on the same note, if not him, who do you get after this season? I mean, I think it sounds like Barsha's already approached Phoenix for next year since Gas is more than likely done. Um, I don't know. Like,
If I'm Phoenix Honda, I absolutely go with Barsha over Ferrandis in the 450 class. On like, his autograph line is going to be 10 times longer, and like, he's so much more marketable than
yeah,
Ferrandis is. Like, he just
yeah,
is, sort of say.
yeah.
Like, and
That's
Ferrandis
absolutely
already doesn't wear the team gear. Like, he's not in Moose. Like, he wears O'Neill. So like, Barsha can
well.
go wear whatever he wants.
He doesn't have to be either, since I mean most more often than not anymore, the 450 guys can do whatever they want gear
Yeah,
wise.
exactly.
And O'Neill paid
Exactly.
him a good chunk of money to run that gear anyway.
Yeah, no, good looking stuff sometimes. But yeah, and honestly, like, I think who needs to have a big year is Prado. I think there's like, you're coming off of a MXGP World Championship. Um, you're an outdoor guy. That's your focus. You've been on the bike for a month now. Uh, all systems go. He should be a top five guy every single weekend.
Absolutely. And he's such a huge question mark because before Supercross, during pre-Supercross season, big concussion. He goes to whatever it was, Anaheim 2,
Hmm.
uh, messes up his shoulder, and now we're going into outdoors on a completely foreign bike to him on completely foreign tracks. So it's really a toss up as to what's going to happen with him. I mean, he's already you can already kind of make the comparison with him, and you go back you do go back 30 years to Greg Albertine when he came over after winning three world titles and really struggled with injuries. And then he finally gets a Supercross win. And then 2 years later, he parlays it into an outdoor title.
Yeah.
He rides his defense championship, and then that's it. So I mean, you can kind of make that comparison as far as how was the first year is going between he and Prado already.
Yeah, like, he hasn't done anything to buck the narrative of like MXGP guy coming over and struggling in Supercross, and not just struggling but getting injured with Supercross, and that hampering their outdoor results. Is there anyone out there that they who can't afford to have a bad summer? Like having a bad summer would, I'm gonna say, like usher them out of the sport altogether, but like definitely hurt their chances of getting a really good ride.
I don't think so because with the exception of Ferrandis and Barsha, I think everybody's already locked in for next year. Yamaha, I mean, I mean, those two and Eli are the only ones that, as far as I know, don't have a ride for next year. But I mean,
Yeah, but it's
Eli's going to end up somewhere,
yeah, Eli's not showing up at A1 on like a Rock River Yamaha. So
right? I don't think that anybody's really on the chopping block. It's not going to look good going into 2027 if they have a bad year this year. But I think everybody's safe if they struggle during the season, then it's not really going to matter a whole heck of a lot. The only guy that I could think of, and from what like I mentioned this earlier, from what I've already heard, is that he's already signed the deal, but Anderson. That's the only guy that I could think of that maybe needs to prove just a little bit more than what is expected of him to just kind of keep his name in the conversation. Maybe not for next year, but for after that.
so what you're saying is potentially throughout the summer, he's just kicking it. He's just like chilling, he's kicking it, and then 2026, he's in fact kicking it.
I don't think he's I don't think he's gonna lay down.
No, but like
I
in
think he's
26, he
I
might
think
be kicking it.
possibly.
Fair enough.
But I also think this summer he is gonna want to show Dan and everybody else over at Cowie. I think he's gonna want to give him a big FU because
Well, that'll
of
motivate.
oh
And
yeah,
he's the kind of guy that would be motivated by something like that. It's just like the pettiness of like, oh, you guys don't believe in me no more? Here's more wins on a 450 outdoors than I've ever had.
yeah. I mean he's in that same mentality boat, that conversation with Webb.
Hmm.
You tell me I'm not going to do something. All right, watch this. That's basically
Exactly.
how Anderson is.
Yeah, the versus color. I don't think you can do it. Oh yeah, watch this, and then yeah, he
Yeah.
goes and gets it done. Um, let's just go straight to GNCC at a glance. You are my guru. You are my Sherpa. That when it comes to GNCC, what is happening in that world? You're in the woods. You're in the ghillie suit, like with your camera. And it's not a like you're not intentionally wearing a ghillie suit. You're just covered in mud.
Yeah.
But like,
I should
yeah,
start
give
wearing
me
a
a
Achilles though.
yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Right.
Give us some insight on what you're seeing with that championship.
Man, this year is such a toss up, and I don't think we'll ever see another season like this ever again. Just we've had 7 races, and 3 of them have been total disasters. Round 1, round 3, and round 6. Like we've had these terrible races that aren't really indicative of the level of where the guys are. They just yeah, it's so much about whether the bike's gonna last. And a lot of times the bikes haven't lasted 3 hours in those gnarly conditions, and that's why we've seen the anomaly that we have with the results this year. But I mean, right now after the race last weekend, I mean we've got the both points leaders, XC1 and XC2, at the top of the standings for the overall championship, and they're only 1 point apart. I mean, if you would have asked at the beginning of the season if we'd be at halfway and those two would be that close, and it'd be those two that were that close, not one person would have ever guessed that. It's just we've had such a weird year because of
Mhm.
all the rain and all the mud. And yeah, this if anything's gonna happen this ever in this sport, it's gonna be this year.
Yeah, like it's like is Ben Kelly currently the leader in points for XC1?
He's the current points leader.
That's
Um,
wild. There's not
yeah,
a lot
and
of people who saw that coming.
no, and it not necessarily because eh, he's been hurt the last 3 years in dealing with injuries and everything, so he just hasn't been 100% healthy at the start of the year, and then continuing on through the year. And this is the first year since 2021 when he won his championship that he's been 100% healthy and he's been building each and every week. Um, yeah, he's shown the form that he did 4 years ago, but he's been consistent. He's had a couple of bad races, but everyone's had a couple of bad races.
Yeah,
It's
like,
just
it's funny. His bad races haven't been as bad as other people's bad races, and yeah, he's got 4 wins so far out of 7 rounds. It's 7 rounds so far, correct?
4 wins in the class.
Yeah,
Um, which the as far as the points go, the class points are actually shown based on the overall.
right. That's correct.
Yeah, so he only has 2 wins, but um,
But yeah, like Liam Draper doesn't have a win yet. He's second in points.
right.
And Stu Baylor has had two brutal events with I believe like DNFs altogether.
Yeah,
He's got
he
a he's got
DNF.
a he's got a
Which one was
14 and a 10 up there.
it? Yeah,
He's sitting third in points,
yeah,
which is
yeah. And I
wild.
mean, and that's just in the XC1. I mean, if you would pull up the overall points because that's where it's really oddball because you got BK in the XC1, and then the next three guys in the points are all
That's
XC2.
Davis. Yeah,
Yeah, Grant, Gus, and Cody. Like it's
that's
because they've been
wild.
putting in consistent rides compared to the rest of the XC1 guys because everybody else in that XC1 class has either DNF'd one or multiple races, missed races, and those three XC2 guys have been there for all 7 rounds so far.
Has Caleb Russell's return to GNCC been successful so far or not? Yes or no question.
For his standards, no. But I think you need to look at the bigger picture. Caleb's coming back after 4 years, 5 years. Um, he's on a bike that's completely foreign to him compared to the KTM's that he grew up his whole career
Oh
on.
yeah,
Onto
yeah.
once he got onto big bikes, once he got onto 125s or even actually 200s back in the day. Um, his fitness is there, his ability is there. It's just him gelling with that bike. Um, I know he was struggling to find a right setup at the beginning of the year. He might still be struggling. He's had the two podiums, Florida, and then I think Coker was the other one, or no, Tennessee a couple rounds ago.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think anyone ought to be hitting the panic button yet, and that's mainly because of the fact that we've had those three bad races. If those races were more, to the normality of how everything else goes, then Caleb's results are better. He doesn't have a bike malfunction or or just whatever it was at Big Buck. Um, he doesn't have the brake issue at Powerline a couple of weeks ago. He the mud. I mean, yeah, you got to everybody's racing the same thing, obviously,
But shit
but
happens. It's things that are out of
exactly
your control happen in mud races.
right, exactly. So yeah, I mean, is it where he wants? No, he definitely expects more out of himself, and I think he's there. He's just got to get all the pieces together, and I think eventually he's going to.
I think this like sort of the summer break will be a reset button, and we're gonna see things kind of bring a little bit back to like you said, normality throughout the rest. Charging and fading. It's kind of like this is kind of like my take on the segment from Pardon My Take called Hot Seat Cool Throne, where basically one thing that's on the rise and one thing that I'm sort of tired of, or the things that is no longer as cool as it once was. My thing, charging is these SMX Next outdoor rounds. I think they're sick. I think it's really cool for fans that might not have been able to see some of these guys. Race these iconic tracks in front of a big crowd and national prepped tracks. I think there was a time when some hot amateurs used to actually go around and race amateur day. Like Michael Alessi was famous for doing this, would just show up and like wax everybody in the A class the year before he turned pro in 2003. Um,
He's
but
still doing it after he was pro.
That's awesome.
Like I raced Steel City amateur day in '05, and he and Jeff both did it when they were on factory KTM, along with Brett Metcalf on Yamaha Troy,
That's awesome.
the Friday before the National.
That's insane. Like,
And then they threw the rule in, you can't ride the track the 7 days before the race.
and the Michael Essie rule. That is awesome. That is like, hey, like hats off to those guys for going out and doing some extra racing. Why not? What's your what's charging for you? What's something that's on the rise?
I think it's just I think it's all these teams and all these sponsors. We may see some come and go, but so many of these new efforts coming into the racing, and
Hmm.
having these privateer teams and creating rides for guys, whether they're good rides or bad rides, but they're creating opportunities. And I think it's nice that, there's more than we've ever seen it. And even just on privateer independent deals, like with a Kevin Moran's or a Justin Starling, the companies that are coming in to back these guys
Hmm.
and afford them to be able to not only go and race, an entire Supercross season or an entire, you know 28, 31 races, but to make a living doing it where they can either take the summer off or they can still do the entire season. But so many of these outside sponsors that for some reason we can't get to the factories, but we're able to get to the privateers. And
Hmm.
I appreciate that that's where the money's going because they're the ones that need it.
Completely off topic, but were you surprised to see Parker Ross separate from SLR Honda and be a Bar X Yamaha guy going in the outdoors?
So I just found out about that yesterday, maybe. And yeah, I don't know what the deal is there because he was there for so long, and I was under the impression he still had a great relationship with
That's what I
Mark and
thought.
Flo and all those guys. And I know those guys. I know Mark Samuels and
Yeah,
CeeLo and everybody over there, and they're awesome guys to be around. I hang out with
exactly.
them. Yeah,
I
they're
love those
fantastic
guys.
guys. I just can't understand what would have happened for that relationship to break apart.
Yeah, I don't unless like there's a situation where he wanted to race all the outdoors and weren't they didn't want to put together a program to do all the outdoors, or it wasn't financially possible, and he got an offer to do exactly that. Like like I said, I for all intents and purposes, I thought that relationship was as ironclad as it get. It was like a great match. Like as far as I know, Parker's girlfriend still rides for their works team on the off-road side. Yeah, it seemed like a big happy family, and I don't know why that would break up.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's my only thought to your
I was
point.
surprised to see that.
Yeah, unless they just couldn't do the full outdoor season and he wanted to do it. But I also think that kid needs to be riding a 450 outdoors. For
Yeah,
him to
big
run a
kid.
250, I think is kind of crazy because I mean, he's not a heavy guy, but he's just such a tall, lanky guy. I think he needs
Hmm.
to be riding a 450 on those wide open tracks.
Yeah, especially if you're privateering it. It's very tough to put together a reliable and potent, which is a cross section when it comes to privateer 250Fs. Like they're either reliable and slow, or they're fast and on the side of the track.
Well, I mean,
Because
that 250 class, that goes to the old, car racing mindset. If you want to have $1 million in the 250 class, start with 2
start with
million.
two. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
All right, and what's faded for me is Bass Pro Shop hats. This might be a little bit silly, but like I am so tired of walking through the pits and looking at like a group of four teenagers and three of them are wearing Bass Pro Shop hats. I'm never gonna understand this. Like I'll acknowledge that back in the day, like me and a bunch of buddies probably all wore like the monster hat from back in the day, the One Industries monster hat. But like if there was a group of four of us and three of us had the hat, okay, you can't wear it.
right.
Like there's no like Maybe
If
it's
they're
just different
different
now.
colors, fine, but not the same exact hat.
Literally the exact same hat. Like, and they're always wearing like either like white Air Force Ones or Panda Dunks, and you're like, you just like they're just copy pasting you guys. I don't get. I just like that's my like faded attempt at taking shots at the kids these days. But my God,
Yeah. Yeah.
get creative. Be an
Yeah.
individual.
Be your own person. Exactly.
Yeah. Probably go through the FXR catalog. They probably have some cool shit for you. I don't know.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Or the Moose Racing one, mooseracing.com. They also have cool hard parts. I don't know if you know this, but they've been doing some really cool stuff with some hard part stuff that just like bike builds. They've got pretty much everything.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do.
Especially if you happen to have a side by side. Okay, we gotta hang up this call because it was supposed to be an hour, turned out to be two. Um, there was a brief intermission due to some internet problems. Hopefully that doesn't come out in the post production. But either way, championship predictions. 250s, give me 450s, and then I'll give you mine.
250. I, I I can't go against Hayden on that one. He's just too strong right now. And I mean, unless you know, Tom or Kitchen or Anstey or somebody, Hymus throws their hat in there, I'm not gonna. I mean, as ridiculous as that probably sounds, I won't count him out for the perfect season, even though we haven't run a race yet. I mean, it's completely plausible that he could do it. 450s. Um, I gotta go with the number one there too. I gotta go Sexton. I think he's gonna be coming with some fire after, like we were talking about earlier, with losing that Supercross title, but also like we alluded to earlier, the chip on his shoulder from, you know, winning titles with not everybody there. And I think now that everybody's gonna be back, um, he wants to be that guy. He finally wants to put his stamp on it and say, "Hey, I'm here. This is my title. You guys are gonna have to take it from me. I'm not gonna have to. I'm not gonna fight you on it."
Fair enough. I will go with some contrarian picks for no other reason than to have something to talk about when we run this back at the end of the year to see who is picking what. But I'm gonna go with Kitchen. I think he has been put in a position to focus on outdoors. I think he's gonna be full bill of health, and I think he comes in guns a blazing, and gets a number of wins this year. I think he wins this championship. Yeah, it's been 5 years since we got a championship out of pro circuit with Adam C and Cirillo Outdoors 2019. And I think they come back and win this championship this year. I think they run it back. I think actually this is going to be a good year for pro circuit. I think they're going to have a lot of wins. I think I could even see some podiums for a guy like Adams. But 450 class, I will agree with you. I think it's Chase Sexton's summer. I think he's going to come in with that chip on your shoulder that you talked about. I think he's have a ton of speed. He has a lot more time on that KTM that he had last year, and he was like he was extremely dominant in certain races where he was just absolutely gone. Fitness. I remember last year at Hangtown when he goes last to first. If that guy shows up, it's gonna be a boring ass summer. But of course, as we talked about, he's gonna have some guys to deal with. Jett's gonna get some wins. Eli's gonna get wins. Prado is gonna lead laps. He's gonna get starts. Prove that it's not a gas KTM thing. It is that guy just gets starts on no matter what it is. So he'll lead some
We'll have
laps, but
five moto winners in that 450 class this summer.
oh yeah. Oh, 100% we will.
Yeah.
So, but I still think that the number one at the beginning of the year is going to be having the red plate when it's all said and done at the final round, which is now Budds Creek. That's a new one. We have never had a championship crowned, or at least the final round being Budds Creek.
Actually,
But
we have
when
early
was
90s.
that?
You
Early
look back,
90s.
like the first, the like 91, like 90, 91, 92, maybe the
Really?
late 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
If you look
Have
it
to
up,
look.
so one of the most, hotly contested championships ever was the 125 title, I think in 92, and it was between Emig and
Emig and
LaRocco.
yeah,
LaRocco. And
yes,
Emig and LaRocco threw it away with mechanical crap the last three
right.
races. Emig made up huge points and won the title in the final moto.
Yeah, that like I don't remember if I'm not remembering that season like super clearly, but there was a point where like Emig was like almost 100 points down, and you're like, oh, he's never gonna get there, and like yeah, DNFs and mechanicals and Little Rocco like choking a little bit here and there. Yeah, like yeah, uh,
He'd have been the second
he
guy
ran
to
him
win.
down.
He'd have been the second guy to win all three outdoor classes because we only have the one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
important.
true.
Rocco would have been the second one.
He would have been the second number eight, like he was Mr. 875, winning all three. That's a random stat. I like that, Kyle. This was fun. Very first time on Big MX Radio. Did you enjoy yourself?
I enjoyed myself. I always enjoy talking racing, no matter what.
Perfect, man. Well, looking forward to you being a repeat offender. Would love to have you on the show another again sometime. But yeah, I gotta get to editing so we can have this up for first thing tomorrow morning. But I appreciate the time, big guy.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
All right, do not hang up just yet. For podcast sake, we're gonna cut things off right there.